Hello YouTube, a little video. I'm actually making this for a friend. You'll understand more later. You won't see this right away, but I'll publish it later along with another one, maybe after this weekend. But excuse me, this is just some pointers in how to attach a handle. I watched a lot of the Forged in Fire shows, and I've seen some very basic mistakes and just things that when you're in the heat of competition, you're right there, you're doing everything. It's quite stressful, so I can see how people can mess up. So this is just something to put in your mind should you ever be on Forged in Fire. I guess the first thing I'll need is a knife. We'll just use this one as an example. This is a CKC knife, probably one of the last ones that he ground out of his shop for me, and the very last load of stuff I got from him. And so we'll use it. Alright, now remember, we're going to do this for Forged in Fire, so we're thinking along those lines. And I don't care if it's a stick tang like this, and this is by Andy Haas. This is Snowflake Damascus. I'll take a chance. This never works, but I'll try to hold it there long enough that it'll focus on it. I can't see it, so... but hopefully you guys can see that. And that's going to be a pretty one. I'm going to put a birch bark handle on that, by the way. Anyway, the first thing we want to do is select our handle material. What's going to happen with that knife? It's going to be used to chop. It's going to be put under a lot of stress. Something like this burl, beautiful though it is the last thing we want. You're not going to impress the judges with a pretty handle that breaks. And burl, with the pins going through it, no. So, for our particular knife, we're going to use G10 or we're going to use micarta. One or the other. That's it. That's the only two choices. As long as you have those choices, they may make you use something else, and well, then you can't. But if given the choice, we're going to use this. Cleaning the knife handle. You can see there's a lot of trash on this one. It hasn't been cleaned at all. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab some paper here, some 400 grit. I'm going to use this to sand it. Why am I using a hard block? Because if I use my hands, they will follow the contour of the knife. So we're just going to clean off all the surface crud here. Sandpaper's cheap. You don't have any time on Forged in Fire. Grab more, use it. They're paying for it. What do you care? So we're going to get as much of this surface crud as we can off of here. Now you can rough this handle up into places that won't show if you feel like you need to do it with some 200, 150, 100 grit. I think with the holes that are already in this handle plus the pins, it's going to interlock pretty well. You can see it still needs to be clean there and there. I want it all to be clean like this area. Same thing with this. And when I put this together, I won't go overboard, but I'll put some notches in here to lock the epoxy in. So that's the first step. Second step, I'm going to contour the ends of my micarta or G10 to whatever shape I want, 45-degree angle, whatever you think it should have. because I won't be able to do that once they're on the knife, or at least not efficiently. So I will do that. I'm going to, if in the case of this micarta here, you will notice we have two slick sides, two finished sides. So I will take this to the belt sander with a rough belt, maybe 80, 120, 140, something like that. And I will take this glaze off of here, this polish, so it's rough like the side, to give me something to bite into. Some people drill little things in there. I don't. If you use your epoxy properly, I don't think that's necessary. I've never ever had a handle come off, so I just don't see any reason for it. Now, we've got our end prepared. We've got one of these cleaned up, and now we're going to go back to the handle. The first thing I'm going to do is take a paper towel and some Windex, and I'm going to wipe it off. May look clean because I just sanded it, but look at that. None of that stuff sticks to glue. So I'm going to clean it good. You can use lighter fluid, you can use acetone, you can use whatever they got in there. But not WD-40, never use that. But Windex works just fine. All right, now you see how clean I've got that? Looks pretty good, doesn't it? Now I don't know how well this will show up, but I want to show you something. Here's some tape. There are pores in this, even if it's smoother than the obvious ones here. But I'm going to take this piece of tape and we're going to stick it on this handle. We're going to push it in really good. Now, if you look, I hope you can see all the crud. You can see the circles here and here, and see how dark all the crud that I pulled off of there. That won't stick to glue either. So I like to take the whole handle and clean it with tape. Now, the next part, I'm going to take and put my two ends together. These will be the ends that I've beveled. And let me show you how I do those. Hang on one second, please. As usual, in my videos, I've always got to get something. You know that. Okay. Two-face tape, just plain old Scotch. And we're going to put some of that on here. We're going to put, this would be our rough inside, this would be our other rough inside. We're going to match the front. We're going to stick them together with our two-face tape. Just like that. Now, we're going to take our handle we're going to put two-face tape on it. Now I'm going to figure out where I want this on here. In this particular case, I'm thinking right here. Now we're going to stick it on. Both of these are now flat. Both of them are on the same plane on each side that I want. And now I can set this on my drill press, drill these holes. I know they're going to be straight, I know they're going to be exact, and I know this front will end up exactly where I want it. we'll take that apart for now. We have cleaned this with tape. We've cleaned it with acetone. We've cleaned it with Windex. We get this just as clean as we can. Same here. You're going to clean this with Windex. You're going to clean it with tape. You're going to clean it with acetone, whatever you can get your hands on. Every little particle that you lift off of there is another area that this will stick to. Now, again, forged in fire, I would like, whoops, either these pins or these loveless bolts, or these sort of loveless bolts. I'm not sure exactly what these are called, but we countersink for this. I usually go about halfway through whatever my material thickness is. Use the stop on the drill. Don't try and do it by hand. If you do, that drill bit wants to pull through there and it will just suck it straight through, and you've ruined that piece. You've got to start all over. Set the stop on the drill and use it, the depth stop, where you want it. As long as they have these, use them. They once you put it together, I mean, it's just absolutely solid. You don't have to worry about it. Now, if they don't, let's say that you have to use plain pin stock, and that's probably too, no, that'll fit that. I'm going to use the biggest pin stock that I can. The more I can spread that surface area around on here, the better. I'm going to take the holes that I drilled here, if I'm not setting them up by countersinking them for loveless bolts. I'm going to take a larger drill. I'm going to chamfer these holes, and then when I put my pins in and peen them over, I'm going to beat them in until I fill those holes. Because when I do that, then this thing is not only glued on there, it's mechanically locked in place. It's not going to come off. For this guy, I would go ahead and we'll just pretend this is a block of micarta or G10. I'm going to drill this out to fit. I'm going to notch this, and if I can, I might put like one pin here. I want to make sure you see on this one, obviously it's a smaller knife, but let's pretend these had the same size blade. You see the vast difference in the Tang? When I forge the Tang, I would rather have a Tang like this. Another reason to use G10 or micarta. You want the strength of this material. You want, that Tang is not going to break. You just don't have to worry about it. This one probably wouldn't either, but the way they beat on those things, I want the strength of a much larger, thicker Tang. And remember, you can taper this in this direction so that it's thick here. Now keep in mind too, I wouldn't do it on the show, but just for your general knowledge, if you taper this Tang, you can't just lay this on there with a tapered Tang, because if you do, these pinholes are going to be at the wrong angle and your pins aren't going to fit right. You have to take the time to tilt your table, drill your pinholes straight so that they match. So I wouldn't recommend doing a tapered Tang on Forged in Fire. Hidden Tang, that's pretty much it. Make sure when you look at your glue, read what it says. I've seen people grab glue that sets overnight. That ain't gonna do you any good. Make sure that you either get something like this, or if it's two separate containers, make sure one is a hardener, the other is the epoxy. If you grab two epoxies or you grab two hardeners, you're not going to have much success. If they have these, use these. They're just about foolproof. Make sure if they're separate, when you put them out, use the equal amounts, or take a second and read the can, mix as directed. But make sure you get 5-minute epoxy, not the 24-hour or 48-hour long set stuff. And I actually saw someone do that, and I saw another person get two of just one thing. Like I think they got two hardeners, and they didn't get any epoxy, so didn't do them much good. They had to scrape it all off, start all over. Another very simple thing: when you drill the holes in here, take the time to fit those holes to the pins. I've seen people take, for instance, they'll have whatever size pin, and let's just grab one out of here again. This is the pin we're going to use. It fits through our hole. If it doesn't, if it just barely fits in and you think, oh, I can beat that through, no, you can't. It won't happen. You'll bend this pin, you'll mess everything up, could even break your handle. Make sure this will slide through there just like that. Make sure it'll slide through here just like that. A good way to do this is to take, and I believe they will let you use calipers. If they won't, you can just do it by the drill bit size. So we're going to measure our pin, in this case 3/16. We're going to zero, we're going to zero right there. This is 3/16. I now have it set on 0 with it open to there. So now I can go to my drill set. I can pull out my 3/16 inch drill bit, and we'll just check. Don't believe what what it says, and there it is. It's zeroed out. If I do it right, if I hold it where it should be. Then, since this and my pin are now the same size, I'm going to chuck my pin stock up in my drill press. I'm going to spin it, and I'm going to take it down with a single cut file as it's running. Just take it down until I get down to my 0 point here, or a little below. Then it will just fit through all the holes. Hold it really tight. You won't have a lot of lateral movement to create shear force, and you can really peen those over good once you do your countersinks on here, or your chamfers, we'll call it. So that's just a little trick to use with this. If you can't, just do it off the drill bit sizes. Same thing, and just check it frequently as you have it chucked up in the drill press. That's a lot better than taking and drilling a hole, putting a pin that's way undersized. That could allow them, when they're hitting, to have a lot of movement. Glue is very strong this way. It's not so strong this way. That's why you've got the pins, to stop shear force. So we're going to put those in like that. Once they set up, you can start working this a lot sooner than people think. And one of the things I disagree with them on the show is they say, oh, they started working it too soon, or they got it too hot. As long as it's set up enough to hold these pins so they don't move and the handles are on there, when you're done, that glue will reset. I have tried it myself numerous times to see if I could make it come off, and as long as I gave it sufficient time to set up, usually overnight, the next day I pretty much had to chisel the handles off on the test knife. They wouldn't come off. So you've got your glue fasten, you've got your mechanical fastener here. Now, either one would probably hold it through the test. Together, that handle's never going to come off. You've chosen the right handle material, no burl, nothing like that. You've got G10, you've got micarta. If you can use that, I would use it. If I couldn't use that, I would stay away again from anything like this. Rather, I would get the straightest grain, and this is Paduke, which is really tough. That's really good wood. Something like that. Long, straight grains, and make sure that the grain orientation is correct. So between these two, we're going to use this. This little burl has all these little chunks that can break out, and once they do, then especially on a big chopper or a sword handle or something like that, you're pretty well gone. So those are my tips. To refresh, we're going to do the angles on the front. We're going to double face tape those together. We're going to obviously drill all our pinholes before we do anything. Then we're going to clean this with Windex, with acetone, whatever. We're going to take tape. We're going to clean it with the tape, really pressing hard, put it on there, press hard, and peel it off. And you'll see all the crud that you'll get out of those holes. None of those places would have held glue. Now they would. I like to then go back and clean it a second time with acetone. You can rough this up. You certainly want to rough up the inside of the handle. It is going to hold. Put them together with two-face tape. Put them on there where you want them with two-face tape. Drill however many pinholes you're going to put in it. You know they're going to be right when you assemble them. Put them together. Give it sufficient time to set up. You can start working it. As long as when you're done, everything has time to cool down and set, it's going to set and it's going to hold. The mechanical fasteners alone, especially if you get to use one of these or one of these, is sufficient. So that is that. Use your drill press. Take your pin. Get a drill bit that's the same size as your pin. Drill your hole. Chuck your pin up in the drill press. Use a file. Use a flat file like this as it's turning to take it down to the size you want. Don't take rough sandpaper in your fingers. You're going to end up with this all wavy. Your pin's not going to fit right. It'll be loose in some spot, tight in others. You're going to end up trying to bang it through because you think it's close. It isn't going to go, and you're going to be frustrated. So that's my tip for my friend, and you'll see this video after he has done his thing and it's all over with. I couldn't put it out now even if I wanted to. So I know this is kind of messy, but I wanted to get this done for him and get it posted. And you guys take it easy. I got a lot more videos coming up and a lot of knives, a lot of fun stuff too. Here's one right here. We're going to do a test. One of my friends, this is carbon steel case, he took this blade out and took it to 60 RC, and I'm reassembling it. I'm doing the mock-ups and test fits on it now, and I'm going to do a full convex. This will be 0 ground from the back right to the edge. It's going to be a cutter, and we're going to test this against a stock one of these that I own. It's stainless steel, but it'll have the stock blade configuration, and we'll see how much difference, if any, there is in it. Well, let's see. We've got these two are coming up. we're going to be putting handles on these. Like I say, in this case, birch bark, or this one, I'm not sure which yet. I've got some other cool handle stuff that we can play with. My student, Emily, let's see if I can do this without moving the camera too much. These are some of hers, and these are all her own designs. She makes everything from scratch, and I think these are going to be some really pretty knives. This is kind of a neat little thing. This was her idea and her grinding. I have a shitty grinder, to be blunt about it. I've got one of the Grizzly, cheap grinders as a hobbyist. That's all I can afford. But she did those grinds with that, and the way the handle will go on here, it'll cover the slight overlap. And she can flatten this some too. It's going to be just a neat little thing. She has tiny hands, much smaller than mine. Here's a full-size knife with a little sub-hilt. And this is the one I can't wait to see her finish. This is just a good utility knife. Handles long enough that even I can get 4 fingers on it. So that'll be fun to see. And I'll keep you posted on those as she does them. She does all the work on them. I don't do a bit of it. So take it easy, YouTube, and we'll talk to you soon.